piece of cake, right?
Today on Absolute Anthem, I wanted to talk about health regeneration, or the lack thereof it in the case of Anthem. Now, when you roll the clocks back, it wasn't always the case that every game, every shooter on the market used some form of regenerative health. In fact, for a very long time, games required you to pick up medkits while in combat to survive. You had to pop some sort of a manual heal of sorts. There wasn't always this hide behind cover and you get your health back system. It has been around for a very long time. In fact, Punch-Out back in 1983 is considered to be one of the first games to use a form of regenerating health, but it didn't really make its way into the mainstream until the days of Halo 2 and Call of Duty. In fact, Halo Combat Evolved had regenerative shields, but not regenerative health. You still had to use medkits to get your health back to full. These days, it's starting to become a bit more of a mixed bag. While a lot of games are still using regenerating health, whether they be shooters or RPGs or action-adventure games, we are starting to see a lot more games experiment with other systems. For example, Battlefield 5 even isn't going to allow players to regenerate back to 100% without the use of a medic. And I think it's great to see devs recognizing that it doesn't just have to be regenerative health because it's what they've been doing, specifically in shooters for the last 10 plus years. We can come up with other systems. We can realize there's value in forcing players to acquire health from fallen enemies, for example, or allowing players to regenerate their health manually in some other way. There's opportunities here to alter gameplay and to alter the experience through how we regenerate health. So in the case of Anthem, we're having no automated health regeneration. When we lose HP, it stays gone until we pick up a health drop from a fallen enemy out on the battlefield. We get to see these in the EA Play demo. They were pointed out that the red holographic triangles are now health drops. You're going to pick those up to replenish your health. I'm pretty interested in this system, so I wanted to sit down and talk about what I believe to be some of the positives for the overall Anthem experience and gameplay flow because of a system like this. I think first and foremost, I want to point out some of the issues I've seen with automated regenerative health in other shared world shooters. For example, Destiny. Destiny is the one where I think I have the most clear experience as to why I haven't liked it and why I've liked this system. So when we look at Destiny 1, all in all, I think the AI in Destiny 1 was a bit more aggressive, and that tends to be a pretty big factor in how regenerative health plays out. So when a player would start to lose their health, they would typically run behind cover, try and regen. Sometimes the enemy would be aggressive and rush them. They'd have to relocate. You were constantly playing this game of like reverse cat and mouse. Sometimes you're the cat, sometimes you're the mouse, just trying to regenerate your health. And it went back and forth. And in some instances, it created a really dull and repetitive shooting gallery effect, where you're constantly in cover, regen health, shoot a guy, regen health, shoot a guy. It was fun, like the first time I played Destiny, but I started to appreciate the harder content less and less because of that system. When you fast forward to Destiny 2, the AI is far less aggressive. I think so much so that I don't find the game challenging enough often enough, which is why I actually liked the updated heroic strikes. But you run that risk of falling back into that shooting gallery situation. I think Destiny 2 maybe accidentally dealt with this by ensuring that in general enemies just die a little bit quicker than they did in Destiny 1. We don't really have as many meaty, spongy enemies, so you can be a little bit more aggressive, run around more, sort of use mobility to stay alive rather than constantly being behind cover. It's not that it doesn't happen, but it's as if they're almost at a nice middle ground with Destiny 2. So AI matters a lot. When we remove that automated health regeneration system, I'm not saying that AI doesn't matter, but there are now other ways in which the player can be forced to leave cover and make use of other systems in the game. And this is just one big honeycomb effect. I can't imagine how many systems have to come into place to make sure a system like this works appropriately. So let's not think for a second that it's as easy as, oh, well now you have to pick up health, so everything just works better, right? That's not the case. There are a lot of things that could happen with Anthem, for example, that might force players to play less aggressively, to not use their freedom of flight. And it's going to be up to the game to force us out of cover, but to also ensure that we never feel cheated on harder difficulties, which is going to be interesting to see how that pans out. So the big thing, let's roll back to the point here, The big thing about having to pick up health drops is that it minimizes that chance for the shooting gallery effect to take place, specifically on harder difficulties. It minimizes the potential for us to just sit in cover taking pot shots, and it's going to force us to leave those safe spaces, not only to pick up those health drops to regen our health when it gets low, but to engage enemies to increase our chance of receiving those health drops. Now, the thing that gets me excited about this system specifically is that it goes so well hand in hand with the mobile nature of Anthem. It further encourages the use of freedom of flight in combat, and in general, the freedom of movement that we have with our flight system. I mean, a lot of the gameplay, we even see the Colossus, which spends a lot of time on the ground, shielding, maybe tanking damage, just kind of on the front line, using its flamethrower, using its heavy machine gun, simply using that freedom of flight to relocate. So rather than having to peek behind a rock or a stone or, a tree and just like, hold on, regen health, this player can relocate, engage the enemy from a different direction, maybe engage a batch of smaller, less powerful enemies, go after some hunters, some low-tier scars, for example, to get that health regeneration. I just think this is going to do a lot to encourage that core gameplay concept that is integral to the Anthem experience, and that is that freedom of flight. And that gets me really excited about how this is going to work out. We already, too, see a lot of enemies that get airborne. There's a lot of opportunities, it looks like, within the gameplay for players to be forced out of cover if they ever decide to stay behind cover for too long. So it's going to be interesting to see just how that plays out on the harder difficulties, because unfortunately, all we got to see in the EA Play demo is normal difficulty with individuals who have played this particular mission, Scars and Villainy, hundreds of times for a live crowd, and they're also extremely well equipped, more well equipped than you would be for this specific encounter. Yeah, I think there's a lot of positive potential in this health drop system, and I actually really like seeing BioWare not just go the traditional route of regenerative health, because I feel regenerative health would just instantly create an environment on harder difficulties where players weren't making use of their mobile freedom of flight experience, right? There's no doubt about it. If you have regenerative health, people will simply run and hide to regain health. You can run and hide to reassess the situation in Anthem and decide, okay, what do I need to do? Do I need to call for help? Do I need to call for support? Maybe you're playing the Storm. You're super squishy. You're that glass cannon, right? And you're like, I need backup. So the Colossus comes in, gets in front of you with the shield, and pushes with you so you can do damage while he tanks the damage itself, and then allows you to get in to pick up some of those health drops, some of those red drops to start to replenish your health. I think it's going to add a really nice layer when we talk about teamwork and tactics here. That gets me really excited about playing Anthem with other players. Let me know your thoughts, guys, on Anthem's decision to use a non-regenerative health system. Where do you see positives, negatives? Really think about this one. Create a discussion of your own, if you will. Spend some time with it. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.
You have been brought here for a purpose, the most important task of your lives.